doesn't solely depend on Airbnb. They leverage them, but there's an entire industry behind the scenes called B2B. It's one business, like aka like a Microsoft going to another temporary housing business, furnished finder of the world. So that to me is what I call a business to consumer. My goal is to show you that it's not the only thing that exists. Not all midterm rentals are created equal, and before you jump into the midterm rental niche, it is critical for you to understand the different models that exist behind this broad umbrella. My name is Ruben Kanya. I am a temporary housing specialist that has helped hundreds of investors nationwide land lucrative mid-term rental contracts, and I specifically have a niche in working with insurance companies and have partnered with some of the top insurance and relocation companies in the nation. Now, with that said, my goal is to again help you understand that there are different midterm rentals, and actually most people are doing it one way, and that there is another way that is actually more lucrative, a high return on energy and investment. So let's unpack it. Mid-term rentals, it has been around for quite some time, but now this terminology that we're using, it's really an internal way of speaking. It's not how these companies out there that are doing these midterm rentals or partnering with other companies that do midterm rentals like us, they don't call it midterm rentals. So it's important for you to understand that that is an internal industry term. Really, the term on the external, on the front end, is temporary housing. And the temporary housing niche has been around for a very long time. It's been decades. As a matter of fact, during the Industrial Revolution is when you got a lot of these companies who started relocate a lot of their workers, employees working across the nation, across the world, etc. And then there was this temporary housing niche. Now, within the temporary housing niche, there is a sub niche of that. The one that most people focus on, or at least in this day and age that is very common due to platforms such as Furnished Finder and Airbnb, are the ones where we're catering to traveling nurses, traveling professionals, etc. And the only reason those have become as prevalent as they are today is because of the growth of these platforms and these digital platforms that made it very easy for these consumers to book and find housing, or find someone like yourself who might be a landlord or an aspiring landlord or a management company or a co-host or whatever it is that you're involved in housing. It's easier for them to find you. And it's not that it changed necessarily, but there is an entire other sector that doesn't call things, that doesn't solely depend on Furnished Finder, doesn't solely depend on Airbnb. They leverage them, but there's an entire industry behind the scenes called B2B, which is business to business. It's one business, like aka like a Microsoft going to another temporary housing business, call them Invested Escapes, which is the name of my company, where they would find us because either again, you have search engine optimization, and or most importantly, very important for my people in the back, building a relationship allows you to just have that direct contact where you might say, we have 12 employees that are coming in Georgia. Can you house them? Can you place them? And these conversations are still happening today because at the end of the day, it's still a relationship-based game. Now, what I want to show you, and I'm going to share my screen here, is I want to be able to show you why the two are actually very different and why I prefer one over the other. All right, so let's unpack that. If you're currently getting value from watching this video, you'll want to make sure you take a second and click below to grab the midterm rental insurance blueprint to help accelerate your process in being able to land these midterm rental insurance contracts with respect to your marketplace. Make sure you click the button below and grab it, and continue on with the gems in this video. The Furnished Finder of the world. So that to me is what I call a business to consumer, right? And by the way, there is nothing wrong with this. My goal is to show you that it's not the only thing that exists. So when you think of midterm rentals, there's B2C. That's again, AKA your Furnished Finder. And Furnished Finder, for those of you who don't know, it's a platform, so you can check it out, Furnished Finder. No affiliation with them, just sharing you, just like Airbnb. Now, a lot of these companies are great companies that have made it super easy, especially for the consumer, consumer being the traveling nurse, right? So I'll just put that on here. That's just an example. It could be traveling nurse, could be another, I don't know, could be a tech developer, could be anything, right? Could be management consultant. Now, these platforms have made it easy for the individuals to go ahead and find these alternative solutions for living while on the road. Now, that is one box. Now, the other box, it gets pretty interesting, and it's been around for quite some time. And again, nothing wrong, just understanding the difference. Still what we would call in-house midterm rentals, right? If that's what you want to call it, aka temporary housing, but for the interest of keeping things simple, we'll call it midterm rentals. Now, this one is B2B. So if you think of these, they're a lot like, there's like Churchill Group, there's Living Group, there's Oakwood, there's Invested Escapes, there's companies like Airbnb Solutions. Now, there's so many different niches in B2B, but here's why I like B2B over B2C, is because these are one-off stays. When someone is going for a furnished finder, they may come back to your town, they may come back, or they may not. And these are what I call one-to-one relation, right? Now, what I love about these is the reason why these companies have stayed around for quite some time is because they've literally built tens to $100 million businesses around just relocating folks for a living. So what do you think they have? Do you think they have one person working there or many? They have many. They have employees, and those are employees, right? So when I think going back, businesses have employees, right? And employees have one task. It's to look for or foster relationships with other businesses. And because they either are housing inventory themselves, very similar to what we do, they own the inventory and or manage. What is critical for these employees is that they're also either in collaboration with relocation companies. Now, some of these might be relocation companies. So Airbnb Solutions, for example, is a relocation company. So what do? They partner with other businesses. And guess what? News alert. You are a business, whether you have one property, right? Because a lot of times people will think, oh, like I'm not a business. Yes. If you have one home, and by the way, you accommodate people, right? Guess what? Congratulations. You are in the hospitality business, right? So it doesn't matter if you have one. It doesn't matter if you have two. It doesn't matter if you have 200. You are in the business. And these companies, guess what they do? They're in the business to do business with you. And because these companies are in the business to do business with you, they are in the business of keeping their lights on, which means that they're in the business of doing repeat business. Like, that is the difference. This one-to-one, this one-to-many. And I don't even know if there's an infinity sign here, but I'm going to shoot my luck. And there is, right? One-to-many. If it's not clear, this is the infinity sign, means like you could just keep going. There's never enough relationships. And another thing to keep in touch is to keep in mind is these are, when you have employees there and you do business with one of them, they might tell the other employee, and it might spread across the office. And now you have a one-to-many contact, as opposed to having to reach out to one person and say, hey, are you going to be back in the area again? Hey, are you going to come visit again like you did last year? Hey, do you have that conference happening again? So while you got amazing tools like StayFi and all that, that's scabbing your emails and stuff. But the question is that I always ask is, how often are these folks, these individuals, going to come back to the area? Unless you go to the top and you go to the business and say, hey, when is your marketing team going to come back in the area? By the way, marketing came in. Is the HR department going to come for another training in your area? These are the kind of conversation you want to have. Now, we take it a step further, right? And we add another box. And if you're new to my channel, or this is your first time watching, well, welcome to the show, right? Because We still do B2B and B3B. That'd be nice. I don't know what that would look like. And honestly, you know what? Maybe I did mean to do that indirectly without knowing, because it is B3B in a way. And I'll tell you why I think that in a way. But business to business, we do insurance, housing. Now, the reason why I was thinking of doing B3B, which I don't even know what it means. I just came up with it now. So I'm gonna write it just because I don't know. I like innovation, is because we're not dealing with the insurance companies directly. The insurance companies are working with relocation agencies who then work with us. So it's almost like a 3-tiered layer. And the reason for that is the insurance companies like an Allstate, State Farm, Farmers. It's so funny. It's like a riddle almost. How are these guys named the same? It's almost like ironic. You name it, right? Geico, whatever. These guys don't have the time to relocate, and quite rightfully so. These are niche. These are like, having a relocation agency business is literally meaning you have people on call, ready to go at all times to source properties. And so these names like the Ailey Solutions and Alacrity Solutions and the CRS of the world. I mean, there are so many of these, just naming the big gals and boys. This is who we like to do business with, because they have agents, right, that are looking for agents, looking for homeowners like ourselves, right? And these agents, call them relocation specialists, are constantly looking for partners who have, you name it, you guessed it, inventory. And so who do I want to do business with to make my life easy? The person who has one-off stays, one-on-one, or the person who has one-to-many and are getting traffic. This is like a trickle-down effect here, right? They're getting traffic as in displaced families in need, and it's trickling down to us, the homeowners. And that's the beautiful thing. The homeowner is you, whether you have one or multiple properties. So it actually serves us best to work with those who are getting in the downstream. You want to be downstream of those who have all the traffic, right? Because then you're not having to work for any of the marketing. They have the traffic. It goes down to the relocation agencies. The relocation agencies need to fulfill the need. And so the relocation agencies will reach out to you, the homeowner, property manager, co-host, whatever it is, to whatever capacity you're involved in the real estate space of controlling, keyword controlling, owning, or managing. It is your duty and obligation to get familiar with these, because you will receive trickle down business that will flow your way by being in the right mid-term rental niche. And if you don't, you'll continue to do one-offs, and there's nothing wrong with that unless you're just not aware that it exists. And for me, my passion is just giving a level of awareness to individuals so that they know what's possible and doable. Because it's one thing to, oh yeah, I've got a family before and once for relocation and for insurance, but how do you do it over and over again so that this model actually ends up increasing your occupancy and profitability? Because that's what we're in the space of if you're a real estate investor, right? That allows you to scale your portfolio and secure the bag, as I call it, much faster than working with, again, these one-off business to consumer individuals. Again, nothing wrong, nothing against it, but if your goal is to scale and grow, it is in your best interest to find the business to business model, because they already have the volume. This requires many tweaks, many one-off tweaks. You're going to war every time. You're going to battle with yourself where you're fighting for your life and trying to fix these listings for one stay, and then you got to do it over and over again, where these, as you continue to grow, as you continue to serve more families, your business actually becomes easier as you create these strategic partnerships. And these businesses will continue to keep calling you, because as you do business, you've built that trust, you build your book of business, and at the end of the day, your book of business will grow your wealth. So with that said, now you understand that there is a fundamental difference between mid-term rentals, aka temporary housing. And now the power is yours because you get to decide which niche you're going to pick with respect to your goals, with respect to the return on investment you're trying to have, and with respect to the return on energy that is important to you. And again, there is no right or wrong, but let the record show that there are differences in the midterm rental niche, not to be mistaken with this to business versus business to consumer. If you got value from this video, make sure you check out my video called the best midterm rental strategy you probably are not using.